how much of your daily life right now
Mhm.
relies on technology working perfectly?
Oh, that is a terrifying question if you actually stop and think about it.
Right. I mean, I want you to really think about it. Your communication, your livelihood, your memories, your bank accounts. You are probably listening to this on a device that you implicitly trust to just work.
We all do. We assume our digital foundation is solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happens when that technology becomes a barrier instead of a bridge? What happens when the tools we rely on to create or to connect or even just to survive suddenly turn into a massive liability?
It's a question we tend to completely ignore right up until a screen goes black
Yeah.
or, a crucial client file just vanishes into the ether.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Eh.
We have a fascinating stack of source material today to help us explore exactly that, examining those cracks and, more importantly, how to actually fix them.
And our sources today are incredibly varied, which I love.
Me too. We're looking at a deeply personal biography of a very unique tech founder. Plus, the business websites for two different IT companies called InfraZen and KarmaBytes.
We also have a very sobering invisible risks cybersecurity checklist.
Oh, that checklist is an eye-opener.
Definitely. And finally, the mission page for a massive global charity called the Million People Project.
So our mission today is to pull all these threads together.
Right. We are going to unpack the rapid evolution of modern IT support, examine the hidden cybersecurity risks that are likely lurking in your everyday creative workflows, and explore this highly ambitious mission to end digital poverty.
And what ties all of this together is the philosophy of one highly unconventional technology expert. Okay, let's unpack this, because if we want to understand how our relationship with digital tools is shifting, we really need to start with the architect of this disruption.
We absolutely do.
I was looking through his biography, and this guy's origin story is just fascinating. His name is Warren Milburn. Picture this. It's 1969.
A true Generation Xer.
Yep. And he's born in a small, former coal mining pit village in the northeast of England.
Which is a crucial detail, really, for understanding his entire worldview.
Because of the heavy labor aspect.
Exactly. We're talking about an environment deeply rooted in physical labor. His family background was entirely working class. The bio notes that half of his family were coal miners and construction workers.
Right, and the other half were farmhands.
It was a world of tangible physical mechanics, not computers.
But he takes a completely different path.
Yeah.
The bio mentions he was the first generation in his entire family to go to university. And just to put that into perspective for you listening, at that time, only 5% of the state school population in the UK actually went on to higher education.
It was incredibly rare, but his technical journey actually started long before he ever set foot on a university campus.
The soldering iron.
Yes. He picked up his first soldering iron at the age of 12, and if you do the math on his career since that moment, he has accumulated over 60,000 hours of IT experience.
60,000.
That is not just a passing familiarity with computers. That is a deep, systemic mastery of how machines communicate at their most fundamental level.
And what I love about this source material is that it paints a picture of a guy who is absolutely not your typical corporate IT executive in a gray suit.
Not even close.
He sports a purple mohawk. Purple is his favorite color, but he specifically calls the mohawk a symbol of resistance and disruption.
And he balances that very visible disruption with a highly analytical mind. He identifies as an INTJ on the Myers-Briggs scale.
That's the architect personality type, right?
Correct. Known for strategic, logical thinking. But then you look at his cultural diet, and it is beautifully eclectic. He loves punk, post-punk pop, ska, and bleepy.
And he pairs that with a preference for Argentinian or Chilean Malbec, alongside Cantonese shredded beef.
It paints a picture of someone who consumes culture as voraciously as he consumes technical knowledge.
I notice that intersection of culture and tech in what he reads, too. The bio says he's old school, reading classic hacker magazines like Alt 2600, Frag, and Crash. For those who might not be deep into hacker lore, what exactly do those publications represent?
Well, those are foundational texts of the early digital underground. Publications like Alt 2600, which was named after the 2600 hertz tone early hackers used to manipulate telephone systems, and FRAC, they were all about exploring systems.
Pushing boundaries.
Exactly. Finding their limits and understanding how they could be bypassed or improved. It's an ethos of deep curiosity. He even met the open source tech legend Richard Stallman, which perfectly tracks with this mindset.
The contrast is just so striking. You have the coal mining heritage on one hand and deep countercultural hacker roots on the other. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because that tinkerer mindset led to some wild claims and bizarre inventions.
Oh, the inventions are fantastic.
The bio mentions he invented something called the butterjet toaster.
I still want to know how that works.
Same. He also claimed to have invented beaming electricity, though the bio playfully notes that Nikola Tesla fans will probably object to that assertion.
Highly likely they will.
He even invented a traffic light control system designed to let emergency vehicles pass through busy intersections unobstructed.
Which he later sold to a student, right?
Yep, but the absolute best detail: he holds a first Dan black belt in Judo, and he once met Queen Elizabeth II. And the bio explicitly notes that those two facts are directly related.
Which is the ultimate cliffhanger. We don't get the full story there. But beneath the mohawk and the wild anecdotes, the source material grounds his story in a very stark reality.
It really does.
The biography shares that he lives with schizoaffective disorder.
Which is a condition that combines symptoms of schizophrenia, like hallucinations or delusions, with mood disorder symptoms, like depression or mania.
Yes. But he doesn't hide it. He actively speaks on the topic of mental health, specifically advocating for business owners.
Which takes an immense amount of vulnerability. It really reframes this whole image of a disruptor. He isn't just disrupting technology. He is actively trying to disrupt the stigma around mental health in the entrepreneurial space.
Exactly. He's looking at broken systems, whether they're technological or societal, and trying to fix them. And that drive extends directly into his professional life, particularly when we look at his early career and how it shaped his views on the IT support industry.
Let's trace that professional baseline. When he left university, he started out teaching basic computer skills like word processing, spreadsheets, databases on government training programs.
And he eventually landed his dream job at a systems engineering R&D lab in Gateshead.
He was always looking over the horizon. The sources mentioned he was putting forward proposals for augmented reality and virtual reality applications way back in his early career.
But those applications for funding were turned down by the EU.
Because the funding bodies literally told him the technology was too early. They couldn't see the utility of AR and VR yet.
But he kept building anyway. He runs a business called Karma Bytes in Brighton, which has a 30-year track record.
Offering very accessible local services, 12-pound tech fixes, 99-pound full computer services, very community-focused. But then we hit the year 2020.
What's fascinating here is how the pandemic acted as an incredible stress test for the entire tech industry. In 2020, he started investigating the traditional managed service provision model, commonly known as MSP, as a potential business direction.
Now, for anyone listening who is unfamiliar, the traditional MSP model usually promises to proactively manage your business's IT risk to drive down your support costs. You pay a fee, they manage your tech.
Sounds great on paper.
It does. But he realized this model had a fatal systemic flaw.
It comes down to a fundamental conflict of interest. If an IT company makes its primary revenue from charging you for ongoing support, they actually have a financial disincentive to permanently fix your underlying problems.
Because if your systems run perfectly,
they have nothing to bill you for. It is a classic misaligned incentive. And as he noted, this entire model broke down completely under the spotlight of COVID-19.
When the sudden massive shift to remote work overwhelmed all these triage-based support desks.
Exactly. So he goes looking for alternatives. The sources say he traveled to the USA and studied under Gary Pica, the creator of the True Methods model.
Now, my understanding is that True Methods is basically considered the gold standard framework for traditional IT support.
It's widely respected, yes. It focuses on standardizing technology stacks and providing virtual CIO services to clients. But even after studying this gold standard, he found it was still missing something crucial.
The fundamental misalignment was still there.
Yep.
I love the analogy he uses in the sources. He describes the old MSP model as a leaky bucket. And instead of running around trying to constantly patch the holes in that old bucket, he decided to just create a completely new bucket.
He called this hybrid model Zen Core Fusion,
which became the core of his new business, InfraZen.
And the way Zen Core Fusion attempts to fix that conflict of interest is by shifting the focus entirely away from break-fix support and towards strategic architecture.
InfraZen targets a very specific audience. They focus on UK accountancy practices, which require incredibly strict data integrity and regulatory compliance.
But they also heavily target creative agencies. And for creatives, the pitch is all about achieving what he calls calm tech and uninterrupted flow.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
I completely understand why an accountancy firm needs ironclad IT.
Yeah.
But a creative agency, a design studio, Why do they need a dedicated technology alignment strategy?
Because for a design studio or a marketing agency, lost files, sync errors, or system downtime literally kills client trust.
Right.
If a creative team loses an entire day of rendering because a shared drive went down, or a client pitch bounces to spam, that directly impacts revenue. InfraZen positions itself as a strategic partner to prevent those specific bottlenecks.
And you can see that in their pricing structure. They offer very targeted interventions. They have a 99-pound email deliverability call just to stop your client pitches from bouncing into spam.
Crucial.
Then a 249-pound penetration testing discovery call, all the way up to a 499-pound technology alignment workshop. It's about building a foundation that doesn't break in the first place.
But to build that foundation, you have to address the vulnerabilities that most businesses don't even realize they have. And that requires a major shift in how we view daily digital habits.
Which brings us directly to you, the listener. How secure is your digital workspace right now?
Yeah.
Because you probably consider yourself pretty tech literate. You know the basics.
We all think we do.
But the sources included this brilliant document called the Invisible Risks Checklist for Creative Businesses. And it outlines 8 specific ways teams unknowingly leave their work exposed. Let's talk about the GOATs of ex-employees, because the first 3 risks on this list all center around who actually has the keys to your digital house.
This is a massive blind spot. Risk number 1 on the checklist is unknown access. The principle is simple. If you can't see who has access to your systems, you cannot protect it.
Makes sense.
The checklist recommends running a quarterly access audit.
I have to ask, though, for a small team, say a 5-person design agency, does a quarterly audit really make sense? It sounds incredibly tedious.
It sounds tedious until you realize risk number 2, shared drives without access controls. Think about how creative teams work. You send a Google Drive or Dropbox link to a freelancer or a client.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Do you ever go back and turn that link off? How many ex-clients or past contractors still have live, active links to your sensitive, unreleased project folders right now?
Probably a lot of them.
The fix here is to start using permission expiry dates. You grant access for 30 days, and it automatically revokes itself.
That makes a lot of sense, and it bleeds right into risk number 3, no offboarding process. When a collaborator leaves, they often retain access simply because no one remembered to turn it off.
Exactly. The checklist stresses the need for a strict, documented process to revoke access to all tools and files the exact moment someone departs.
With a revoke access checklist.
Yes. Moving beyond access, we have to look at daily habits. Risk number 4 is a classic recycled or weak passwords.
And we all know we shouldn't do this. It is cybersecurity 101. Yet people still do it because managing 50 different complex passwords is a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But if you use the same strong password everywhere and it leaks in one data breach, hackers now have the keys to your entire digital life.
The checklist recommends using a password manager like Bitwarden. You set it up once, and it generates and remembers unique passwords for everything. It's a habit fix.
Exactly. And speaking of habit fixes, risk number 6 is failing to use two-factor authentication, or 2FA.
Everyone listening knows what 2FA is, but
Yeah.
people still bypass it because it adds 5 seconds to their login time.
But even if a password is stolen, 2FA stops an attacker in their tracks. The fix is to mandate app-based 2FA across your email, your cloud tools, and especially any admin logins.
But here's where those habits get really messy in a team environment. Risk number 8 is using a single login for team tools.
Oh, this is everywhere.
It's so common for a creative agency to share one generic login for a tool like Canva, Notion, or Figma to save money on seat licenses.
It is incredibly common, and it is a disaster waiting to happen. If your whole team shares one login, you have zero visibility.
If someone accidentally deletes an entire project, there is no audit trail to see who did it, when it happened, or how to recover it.
You have to use role-based team accounts even if it costs a little more. The liability of a shared login far outweighs the subscription savings.
And that desire to just get work done quickly without friction leads directly to risk number 5, shadow IT.
This raises an important question about unapproved tools. Shadow IT is perhaps the most insidious risk on this list. These are unapproved tools that employees use to bypass company protocols.
Give me an example.
Maybe the official company file transfer system is too slow, so a designer starts using their personal cloud drive to send large video files to a client. Or they install a rogue browser extension to help with grammar checking.
And it flies completely under the radar. The IT department has no idea it is happening, which means client data is now sitting on an unvetted, unsecured personal server.
The checklist suggests the fix isn't to punish the team, but to encourage them to declare any tools they are using so they can be evaluated and approved centrally rather than driving the behavior underground.
Which brings us to the final vulnerability, risk number 7, relying on a single cloud storage provider. People treat the cloud as if it is infallible.
Oh, absolutely. We just assume Google or Microsoft will never lose our data.
But a local sync error, an accidental mass deletion by an employee, or an automated account lock due to a terms of service violation can erase your access to everything instantly.
Which is terrifying. The necessary fix is to back up your primary cloud to a second, entirely separate encrypted service.
So what does this all mean? When you look at this checklist, you realize that tech troubles don't usually look like sophisticated hackers breaking through a firewall. They hide in plain sight.
They hide in the everyday, mundane habits we've all developed just trying to get our work done.
Exactly. InfraZen actually offers a free 2-minute IT health scorecard on their website to help businesses spot these exact blind spots before they become a crisis.
It is entirely about shifting your relationship with your tools from reactive panic to proactive management. You fix the leaky bucket before the water ruins the floor.
And as we look at the final source in our stack, we see that this philosophy of proactive technology management extends far beyond just helping creative businesses run smoothly. He has applied this same logic to a massive social initiative.
And this is the piece that really ties the entire deep dive together.
It's called the Million People Project. The overarching goal of this charity is staggering. They want to lift 1 million people out of digital poverty and exclusion by the year 2033.
And 2033 isn't just a random date. That is the exact year Warren plans to retire.
To understand the genesis of this mission, we have to look back at the 2020 lockdowns. When the world was suddenly sent home, it exposed a massive, hidden inequality regarding digital access.
Families were trying to juggle remote work and homeschooling, and many were trying to do it with just one single laptop shared between 4 or 5 people.
It was completely untenable. He saw this happening in the predominantly poorer parts of the northeast of England, and he realized that tech professionals downing tools during the pandemic was crazy.
The world actually had a greater reliance on tech support at that exact moment than ever before.
So he started asking local businesses to donate their old, unused technology. And incredibly, 90% of the businesses he asked agreed to help.
But here is where his expertise in cybersecurity directly overlaps with his charity work. You can't just hand over a corporate laptop to a stranger.
Right. There are massive data security risks for the business donating it.
So the process they developed is rigorous. Donated devices receive a military-grade, GDPR-compliant data wipe. The donating business actually receives a certificate of secure erasure, which completely mitigates their risk and gives them the confidence to hand over the hardware.
Once the data is securely destroyed, the devices are tested, refurbished, and redistributed into the community completely for free.
And they are going to people who desperately need that connection. Students trying to keep up with their education, job seekers trying to apply for work, and even survivors of human trafficking trying to rebuild their lives.
And the entire ethos driving this project is beautifully simple: dignity, not pity.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the impact metrics they have achieved so far are astonishing. They have prevented 40 tons of e-waste from going to landfills.
Wow.
They have donated and redistributed 6,920 devices, and they have directly impacted 14,273 people so far.
The foundational belief here is that in the modern world, tech should be a lifeline, not a luxury.
It's a very powerful statement.
It has been a remarkable journey today. We have traced the path of a 12-year-old boy holding a soldering iron in a coal mining village to a tech architect, realizing that the entire traditional IT support industry was operating as a fundamentally flawed, leaky bucket.
We've unpacked the hidden, everyday risks from recycled passwords to shadow IT that threaten businesses.
And we've seen how all of that expertise culminated in a global mission to end digital exclusion by the year 2033.
It really forces you to look at the devices sitting on your own desk differently. They are tools of creation, yes, but they are also vectors for immense risk if mismanaged. And ultimately, they are vehicles for massive social opportunity.
Very true.
And it leaves me with one final thought to ponder based on everything we've read today. We've talked extensively about the dangers of shadow IT in the workplace and the literal mountains of discarded tech we produce. But consider this: as artificial intelligence and digital transformation rapidly accelerate over the next decade, what happens to the world's hidden genius if we fail to bridge this digital divide?
That's a scary thought.
Are we, as a global society, merely patching a leaky bucket of global inequality instead of building a completely new system where access to digital creation is recognized not as a luxury, but as a fundamental human right?
That is a powerful question and definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We invite you to audit your own tech habits this week. Check those shared drives, evaluate your team logins, and perhaps take a moment to consider the second life of that forgotten laptop sitting in your drawer. Until next time.